The great chamber of the Galaxy Council shimmered with artificial starlight, casting long shadows across the polished floor of iridescent stone. 3 years of negotiations had left their mark on Jack Daniels, the Earth ambassador. His eyes, once bright with enthusiasm when he first arrived on the central planet, now carried the weight of countless diplomatic sessions. He stood by the vast window overlooking the council city, his reflection superimposed against the backdrop of towering spires and the constant flow of interstellar vessels. Paula White, his communications assistant, approached quietly. "They're ready for us, sir." Jack nodded without turning. "The final offer?" "Same as yesterday. 5-star systems for colonization rights and a 30% tax on all interstellar trade." A smile, devoid of humor, crossed Jack's face. "And we asked for 10 systems and equal trade rights as we have since day one." Jack finally turned from the window. The weight on his shoulders seemed to visibly lift as he straightened his formal diplomatic attire. Deep blue with the Earth emblem, a simplified globe surrounded by laurel leaves. "Time for Phase 2, then." Paula's eyes widened slightly. "Are you certain, sir, the Council?" "The Council has had 3 years to recognize that Earth isn't some primitive outpost to be patronized." Jack interrupted, his voice, calm but firm. "They believe we have no choice but to accept whatever scraps they offer." He started walking toward the chamber doors. "Let's show them how wrong they are." The central chamber of the Galaxy Council was a marvel of architecture and engineering. A perfect dome with seats arranged in concentric circles, all facing the central podium. Representatives from over 200 civilizations filled the room, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of sentient life in the galaxy. Above them all, on an elevated platform, sat the 7 High Chancellors, the ruling body of the Council. High Chancellor Zextral, a tall, slender being, with pale blue skin and elongated features that marked him as one of the ancient Quarians, stood as Jack approached the central podium. "Ambassador Daniels, we are pleased to present our final accommodation for Earth's integration into the galactic community." The holographic display activated, showing star maps and complex trade agreements. Zextral continued with the practiced condescension that had characterized all their interactions. "We offer your species 5 stellar systems for colonization, with preferential taxation rates of merely 30% on all interstellar commerce. This is most generous considering Earth's relatively recent achievement of faster-than-light travel." Jack studied the proposal without expression, then looked up at the High Chancellors. The chamber had fallen completely silent, hundreds of alien representatives watching, with varying degrees of interest. Many had dismissed the humans as inconsequential newcomers, barely worth the Council's time. "High Chancellor." Jack began, his voice clear and resonant throughout the chamber. "Earth appreciates the Council's consideration." He paused, allowing a moment of satisfaction as the Chancellors exchanged pleased glances. "However, we must respectfully withdraw from these negotiations effective immediately." The silence transformed into a buzz of shocked murmurs. Zextral's elongated features contorted in surprise. "Ambassador, perhaps there is some misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," Jack replied calmly. "For 3 years, Earth has requested equal trade status and allocation of 10 habitable systems, terms that align with standard provisions for new members, with our technological capabilities. For 3 years, the Council has treated these reasonable requests as outlandish demands." Jack turned to address the entire chamber now. "Therefore, Earth will pursue independent development and establish its own diplomatic and trade relationships outside the Council framework." Zextral's composure cracked slightly. "This is most unwise, Ambassador. The protections and benefits of Council membership come with too high a price," Jack finished. "Earth thanks the Council for its time." With that, he gave a formal bow and turned to leave. "Ambassador Daniels," Zextral called out, a note of genuine alarm in his voice now. "Reconsider this rash action. The galaxy can be inhospitable to solitary worlds." Jack paused at the chamber doors and looked back. We are quite aware of the challenges, High Chancellor. I suspect it is the Council that does not fully comprehend the situation. With those enigmatic words, he departed, leaving behind a chamber in uproar. As their shuttle departed from the Council planet, Paula couldn't contain her anxiety any longer. Sir, was that wise? The Council controls nearly 70% of explored space. Jack watched the gleaming planet recede through the viewport. Paula, what would you say is humanity's greatest strength? She considered for a moment. Adaptability, creativity. Both, Jack nodded. And what has the Council demonstrated over the past 3 years? Stubborn adherence to tradition, she admitted. Bureaucratic inflexibility. Precisely. Jack activated his secure communication device. Admiral Miller, implement Phase 2. Authorization code Terra Libra. The voice that responded was female, clear, and confident. Understood, Ambassador. Phase 2 initiated. The shipyards at Proxima Centauri are already at full capacity. Our intelligence network has identified potential allies. Preliminary contacts with the Drath and Mexi civilizations show promise. Excellent, Jack said. And the special project? Proceeding ahead of schedule. Initial tests of the instantaneous displacement technology have exceeded expectations. Jack's smile was genuine this time. Perfect. We have approximately 18 months before the Council realizes what we're doing. Make them count. Paula stared at him. Sir, this was planned all along. The withdrawal wasn't just a negotiation tactic. It was both, Jack admitted. We gave the Council every opportunity to treat us as equals. They chose not to. Now we'll show them why that was a mistake. The following months saw a flurry of activity in Earth-controlled space that went largely unnoticed by the Galaxy Council. The Proxima Centauri system, Earth's first extrasolar colony, became the center of a massive industrial effort. Hidden shipyards constructed vessels of increasingly advanced design, incorporating both human innovation and technological concepts gleaned from Council data during the negotiation years. Admiral Susan Miller, a veteran of Earth's earlier conflicts, and now the strategic commander of humanity's expansion, coordinated from her headquarters on Mars. Her office walls displayed constantly updating projections of ship deployments, diplomatic missions, and intelligence reports. The Council still believes we're sulking, she reported during a secure conference with Jack, who had been appointed as Earth's first Minister of Interstellar Relations. Their intelligence services have noted some increased activity in our home system, but they've dismissed it as internal development. Jack nodded, studying the reports. And our diplomatic initiatives? Exceeding expectations, Susan replied with satisfaction. The Drath hierarchy has formally agreed to our mutual protection agreement. They've chafed under Council restrictions for centuries, but lacked the leverage to negotiate better terms. With our manufacturing capabilities and their spatial mapping expertise, we make natural allies. The Mexi Confederation? Signed yesterday. They're bringing 7 independent worlds with them into our alliance network. Jack leaned back in his chair, impressed. That's 17 civilizations now. 23 as of this morning, Susan corrected. The Krill Prime Cluster requested membership after their trade dispute with Council representatives. We're calling it the Mutual Protection Alliance, MPA for short. The Council's response. Susan's expression darkened slightly. Still dismissive, though, Ambassador Kuval from the Eldarin worlds has been pushing for a reassessment of their position on Earth. He's been shut down repeatedly by Zextral and the conservative faction. Kuval, Jack mused. I remember him, one of the few who treated our delegation with genuine respect. He might be a valuable contact when the Council finally wakes up to reality, Susan suggested. Jack nodded. Maintain unofficial channels with him. Now, what's the status of our fleet development? Susan's face brightened as she activated a new holographic display. Ahead of schedule. The Eagle-class destroyers have all been equipped with the new shield technology, and the first Constellation-class carriers will be operational next month. But the real breakthrough. She paused for dramatic effect. The instantaneous displacement drive was successfully tested on a full-sized vessel last week. Jack's eyes widened. That's at least a year ahead of projections. Our scientists had a breakthrough when they combined Council theoretical models with our quantum entanglement research. We can now move ships instantaneously across distances of up to 50 light-years without using traditional hyperspace routes. The Council controls all major hyperspace routes, Jack said thoughtfully. This changes everything. Exactly. We're no longer bound by their navigation restrictions. Susan's expression turned serious. Jack, we're approaching the point of no return. Once the Council realizes what we've built, confrontation becomes inevitable. Jack stood and walked to his own window, looking out at the Martian landscape. The Council has ruled unchallenged for over 5,000 years, Susan. They've forgotten how to adapt, how to recognize a changing galaxy. They need to be reminded. And if they respond with force, then they'll discover that humanity doesn't fight like the subject worlds they're used to bullying. Jack turned back to her. But I don't think it will come to that. Not once they understand the new reality. 18 months after Earth's withdrawal from negotiations, the Galaxy Council held an emergency session. The atmosphere in the Grand Chamber was tense as representatives from across known space gathered to discuss what many now recognized as a significant miscalculation. Ambassador Kuval of the Eldarin world stood before the council, his tall, willowy form commanding attention, despite the dismissive expressions of several high chancellors. I have been warning this body for more than a standard year about the human activities, he stated, his melodic voice carrying frustration. They have established a network of alliances that now encompasses 37 worlds, including 6 former council members. High Chancellor Zextral waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. The humans have gathered malcontents and fringe civilizations. This mutual protection alliance poses no significant challenge to council authority. Kuval activated the central holographic display, showing a map of known space with color-coded indicators of political alignments. The MPA now controls 28% of explored space, including 3 major hyperspace junction points. Furthermore, our intelligence suggests they have developed new technologies that may... Speculative fear-mongering, interrupted Chancellor Voss, a reptilian being with scales that shifted colors with his emotions, currently displaying patterns of annoyed orange. Humans are technologically primitive compared to council standards. They achieved faster-than-light travel barely 70 years ago. Kuval's patience visibly thinned. With respect, Chancellors, this dismissive attitude is precisely what drove Earth to withdraw from negotiations. I have studied human history extensively since their appearance on the galactic stage. Their technological development rate exceeds any species we have encountered. In the last century alone, they advanced from atmospheric flight to interstellar travel. A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Chancellor Zextral raised his hand for silence. What would you have us do? Ambassador Kuval, capitulate to the demands of newcomers. Offer them privileged status over civilizations that have been council members for millennia. I would have us recognize reality, Kuval replied firmly. The humans sought equal treatment, not privilege. We denied them this out of tradition and pride. Now, they build an alternative to council authority, and others flock to their banner. Before Zextral could respond, an aide rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to him. The High Chancellor's expression shifted from irritation to shock. Impossible, he muttered, before addressing the chamber. We have received reports of an incident in the Ganthra system. A council patrol encountered an unidentified vessel that refused inspection. When pursued, he hesitated. The vessel allegedly disappeared and reappeared 50 light-years away instantaneously, without using a hyperspace entry point. The chamber erupted in chaotic discussion. Kuval turned to Zextral, his expression grave. As I was attempting to warn you, the humans have not been idle during these 18 months. The incident in the Ganthra system was indeed the first direct confrontation between council forces and the newly formed MPA. Commander Vra, a veteran of the Council Guard with 30 years of exemplary service, had been conducting a routine patrol when sensors detected an unregistered vessel entering the system. "Unidentified ship, this is Council Patrol Vessel. Righteous Enforcement," Vra transmitted. "You have entered restricted space. Prepare for boarding and inspection." On the bridge of the Earth vessel, Defiant Captain Nancy Bell received the transmission with calm composure. "Council vessel, this is Captain Bell of the MPA ship Defiant. We are conducting a scientific survey under Article 7 of the Open Space Treaty, to which both the Council and the MPA are signatories." Commander Vra's mandibles clicked in irritation. The Open Space Treaty was an ancient document rarely invoked, but technically still valid. "Your vessel configuration does not match any registered MPA scientific vessel. Prepare for boarding or face disablement." Captain Bell sighed. This was exactly the scenario they had prepared for, but she had hoped to avoid confrontation so early in their operations. "Commander Vra, I must decline. The Defiant carries sensitive scientific equipment that would be damaged by your scanning procedures. We will withdraw from the system immediately." "Unacceptable," Vra responded. "All vessels in Council space are subject to inspection. Disable your engines and prepare for boarding. This is your final warning." Bell nodded to her tactical officer. "Implement phase shift. Coordinates Sol system outer planetary orbit." "Captain," her first officer cautioned, "that will reveal our displacement capability." "We knew this day would come, Commander," Bell replied. "Let's make sure the demonstration is memorable." As the Council vessel moved into intercept position, the Defiant seemed to shimmer slightly, then vanished completely. On the Righteous Enforcement alarms blared as sensors attempted to track the impossible disappearance. "Hyperspace detection," called out Vra's sensor officer. But there was no entry vortex, no energy signature. Vra's compound eyes widened in disbelief. "Track them!" "Impossible, Commander. They're simply gone." 50 light-years away, the Defiant materialized in the orbit of a gas giant in the Sol system, a non-aligned territory outside Council jurisdiction. Captain Bell immediately opened a channel to Earth Command. "First contact scenario completed," she reported. "Displacement drive performed flawlessly. The Council now has confirmation of our technological capabilities." Admiral Miller's voice came through clearly. "Well done, Captain. Return to base using conventional FTL. We want them to know exactly where you're going." "Understood, Admiral. Setting course for Proxima Centauri." As the Defiant engaged its conventional faster-than-light engines, Bell couldn't help but smile. The game had changed irrevocably, and the Council would soon be forced to recognize that the old rules no longer applied. The revelation of the instantaneous displacement technology sent shockwaves through the Galaxy Council. Emergency sessions stretched for days as the implications became clear. A technology that could bypass the carefully controlled hyperspace routes undermined the very foundation of Council power. "This cannot be permitted," Chancellor Voss declared, his scales now pulsing with angry red patterns. "If this technology proliferates, our ability to regulate interstellar travel will collapse." Ambassador Kuval, who had been invited to the Emergency Council as a recognized expert on human affairs, spoke carefully. "The technology has already proliferated, Chancellor. Our intelligence indicates that all major MPA vessels are now equipped with displacement drives. Moreover, the Drath and Mexi civilizations have begun installing them on their own ships." Zextral's composure had deteriorated visibly over the past few days. "This is a direct challenge to Council authority. We must respond with force if necessary." A murmur of unease rippled through the chamber. The Council had not engaged in large-scale military action for nearly 800 years. Many civilizations had reduced their military capabilities, relying on Council protection. "With respect, High Chancellor," Kuval said, "military action would be catastrophic. The MPA has been preparing for possible conflict since Earth withdrew from negotiations. Their fleet capabilities are substantial and growing daily." "You suggest we simply accept this challenge to our authority?" Zextral demanded. I suggest we negotiate, Kuval replied calmly. Not from a position of assumed superiority, but as equals. The humans and their allies have demonstrated both technological capacity and strategic foresight. They have managed to build an alliance of formerly isolated worlds into a cohesive political entity in less than 2 years, something that would take the Council decades of deliberation. Chancellor Talia, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. Her crystalline voice resonated with the wisdom that had made her respected across Council space. Ambassador Kuval speaks with wisdom we would be foolish to ignore. The emergence of the MPA represents the most significant shift in galactic politics in millennia. We must adapt or risk obsolescence. Zextral bristled. You suggest capitulation. I suggest evolution, Talia corrected. The Council has ruled through control of hyperspace routes and technological superiority. Both advantages are now compromised. We must find a new role in a changing galaxy. The debate continued for days, but the turning point came 3 weeks later, when the MPA conducted what they termed a joint exercise in the city system. A star cluster just outside Council space, but vital to 3 major trade routes. Over 500 vessels, representing 20 different MPA member worlds, performed synchronized maneuvers that demonstrated not only their displacement technology, but also advanced shield configurations and weapons capabilities previously unknown outside Council military circles. The message was unmistakable. The MPA was not merely a diplomatic alliance, but a formidable military force capable of protecting its interests. In his office on Mars, Jack Daniels watched the reports of the Council's reaction with satisfaction. They've requested a formal meeting, he informed Admiral Miller. Not negotiations, they were careful to specify that, but a diplomatic exchange of perspectives. Susan laughed. Translation, they want to figure out how to save face while backing down. Essentially, Jack agreed. They're sending Ambassador Kuval as their representative. An interesting choice. He was the one who warned them about underestimating us, wasn't he? Jack nodded. The only one who took us seriously from the beginning. I suspect he's been elevated to this position precisely because he was right when everyone else was wrong. So, what's our position going to be? Susan asked. They'll expect concessions now that they're willing to talk. Jack's expression turned serious. We're not interested in concessions anymore, Susan. The Galaxy Council's time as the unchallenged authority is over. They need to understand that. The meeting took place on neutral territory, the space station orbiting Proxima Centauri's outermost planet. Ambassador Kuval arrived without ceremony, accompanied by only 2 aides, rather than the usual entourage that would accompany a council representative. Jack greeted him in the station's observation lounge, a transparent dome that offered spectacular views of the star system and the ongoing construction of Earth's expanded fleet. Ambassador Kuval, welcome to Proxima Station. The tall Eldarin bowed slightly. Minister Daniels, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I must say the industrial capacity you've developed here is most impressive. Jack gestured to the viewport where massive shipyards could be seen in orbit around several planets. We've been busy. So I see, Kuval replied dryly. The Council has authorized me to offer Earth membership status with special privileges, including the 10 star systems you originally requested and preferential trade status, with only a 5% tariff. Jack smiled. The same terms we asked for 3 years ago, now presented as a generous concession. Better terms, actually, Kuval pointed out. The standard tariff for new members is 15%. 5% is reserved for founding worlds. It's an interesting offer, Jack acknowledged. 3 years ago, we would have accepted immediately. Kuval's large eyes blinked slowly, in what Jack had learned was an expression of surprise for his species. And now the situation has changed. The MPA includes 39 worlds, controls nearly a third of explored space, and has developed technologies that make many Council regulations obsolete. Jack turned to face Kuval directly. We're not interested in Council membership anymore, Ambassador. I see, Kuval said carefully. May I ask what you are interested in? Recognition, Jack replied. Formal acknowledgement of the MPA as an independent political entity, with equal standing to the Council. Open exchange of scientific and cultural knowledge. Jointly administered trade routes in disputed territories. The Council will not surrender its authority easily, Kuval warned. They won't have to surrender, Jack said. Just share. The galaxy is changing, Ambassador. The Council can change with it, or become increasingly irrelevant. Kuval was silent for a long moment, studying Jack carefully. You never intended to join the Council, did you? Even from the beginning? Jack considered the question. Initially we did. Earth was eager to join the galactic community. But as negotiations dragged on, we realized that Council membership meant perpetual second-class status. So we developed an alternative. Most impressive, Kuval admitted. I warned the Council about underestimating human adaptability. They believed your withdrawal was a negotiation tactic that would end with your eventual capitulation. A costly miscalculation, Jack noted. Indeed. Kuval seemed to come to a decision. Minister Daniels speaking unofficially, there are many within the Council who recognize that change is inevitable. The emergence of the MPA has created a situation without precedent in our history. Change is always difficult, Jack acknowledged, but sometimes necessary. Kuval leaned forward. What if certain worlds were to petition for membership in the MPA rather than the Council? Jack kept his expression neutral, despite his surprise. Any world that meets our charter requirements would be welcome to apply, of course. Including Council worlds. Now, Jack couldn't hide his surprise. You're suggesting Council members might defect? I'm suggesting that some members have watched the development of the MPA with great interest. Worlds that have chafed under Council restrictions for centuries see in your alliance a more equitable alternative. Kuval paused. The Eldarin worlds, for instance, have maintained Council membership for over 3,000 years, yet our scientific advancements are routinely restricted due to security concerns. Ambassador, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Kuval's expression remained carefully neutral. I am suggesting that the galaxy stands at a crossroads, Minister Daniels, and that the path forward may not be what either of us initially envisioned. Jack nodded slowly. I believe we have much to discuss, Ambassador. The following year marked a period of unprecedented change in galactic politics. What began as a trickle, 3 minor Council worlds applying for MPA membership, soon became a flood. Within 6 months, 17 former Council members had joined the alliance, bringing with them valuable resources, technologies, and strategic positions. The Council, facing its first existential crisis in millennia, split between hardliners who advocated military action and reformists who recognized the need for adaptation. The crisis came to a head when the Eldarin worlds, led by Ambassador Kuval, now elevated to High Representative, formally withdrew from the Council and requested immediate admission to the MPA. As one of the founding civilizations of the Galaxy Council, the Eldarin departure was a symbolic blow that could not be ignored. High Chancellor Zextral, his position increasingly untenable, finally conceded to the reformist faction. The Council would need to transform or face dissolution. The negotiations that followed were unlike any in galactic history. Rather than Earth pleading for admission to the Council, representatives from both the Council and the MPA met as equals to discuss a new framework for galactic governance. Jack Daniels, now serving as the MPA's Executive General, led the Alliance delegation. Across the table sat Ambassador Talia, who had replaced Zextral as the Council's chief representative after his resignation. The transition will not be simple, Talia acknowledged during one particularly difficult session. 5,000 years of tradition cannot be discarded overnight. Nor should it be, Jack agreed. The Council's accumulated knowledge and diplomatic expertise are invaluable. We're not suggesting replacement, but evolution. Over the course of 6 months, a new framework emerged: the Galactic Cooperative, a constitutional body that incorporated elements from both the hierarchical council and the more egalitarian MPA. Member worlds would maintain significant autonomy while contributing to shared institutions for trade, scientific research, and mutual defense. 5 years after Earth's withdrawal from the original peace talks, the formal ceremony establishing the Galactic Cooperative took place in the newly constructed Harmony Station, a massive space habitat positioned at a neutral point between former Council and MPA territories. Jack Daniels stood on the central platform, alongside Talia Kuval, and representatives from 100 worlds. The vast chamber was filled with delegates from across the galaxy, witnessing the dawn of a new era. "We gather today not as conquerors or the conquered," Jack began, his voice carrying to all corners of the chamber, "but as architects of a shared future. 5 years ago, Earth stood before the Galaxy Council, seeking recognition and equality. Today, we stand alongside former Council worlds as partners in a new endeavor." Talia stepped forward. "The Council's long history taught us order and stability. The MPA has taught us innovation and adaptability. Together, we forged something greater than either could achieve alone." Kuval, representing the crucial bridge between old and new, added, "For millennia, the galaxy functioned under the premise that age granted authority. Today, we recognize that true wisdom lies in acknowledging when change is necessary and embracing new possibilities." The formal charter was signed by representatives from over 200 worlds, former Council members, MPA allies, and previously unaligned civilizations, all committing to the new framework. As the ceremony concluded, the massive viewports of Harmony Station revealed a spectacular sight: ships from across the galaxy, once divided by political boundaries, performing a synchronized flyby that symbolized their new unity. Later, in a quieter moment, Jack found himself standing with Paula White, who had remained his trusted aide throughout the tumultuous years, watching the continuing celebrations. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you walked out of the Council chamber 5 years ago?" she asked. Jack considered the question. "Not exactly this, no. I expected respect, perhaps reluctant acceptance of our independence. This," he gestured to the gathering where former adversaries, now engaged in animated discussions, "this exceeds even my optimistic projections." "It's remarkable how quickly everything changed once it started," Paula observed. "Almost as if the galaxy was ready for transformation, but needed a catalyst." "That's often how history works," Jack replied. "Systems persist through inertia until something forces change." Ambassador Kuval approached them, his tall frame easily visible above the crowd. "Minister Daniels, a moment of your time." "Of course, Ambassador, though I believe it's Representative Kuval now, isn't it?" Kuval inclined his head. "Indeed. The terminology changes, though I find the responsibilities remain rather similar." He gazed out at the stars beyond the viewport. "I wanted to share something with you, something few outside the former Council know. There was a prophecy millennia ago that spoke of a time when the youngest would teach the eldest a new dance among the stars." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I wasn't aware the Council put stock in prophecies." "We didn't officially," Kuval admitted. "It was dismissed as poetic metaphor. But watching your species these past years, I've wondered." "Humanity has always been adaptable," Jack said modestly. "More than adaptable," Kuval corrected. "You withdrew from dialogue to create something better. Most species would have either capitulated or isolated themselves in resentment. You chose a third path, building something new and inviting others to join you." He gestured to the gathering. "The Galactic Cooperative exists because Earth refused to accept the existing order, yet remained engaged with the wider galaxy." A soft chime indicated the beginning of the official reception. Jack smiled at his companions. "Shall we join the festivities? I believe we've earned a moment of celebration before the real work begins." As they moved toward the central chamber, Jack paused for one last look at the stars. Somewhere out there, the vessels of the new cooperative fleet were already mapping unexplored regions, free from the restrictive protocols that had limited exploration for millennia. Scientific exchanges between formerly isolated worlds were yielding breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and environmental management. Trade routes, once tightly controlled, were now open conduits of commerce and cultural exchange. Earth had withdrawn from peace talks, and in doing so had transformed the galaxy. Sometimes, Jack reflected walking away from a bad deal was the first step toward creating something better. On the main platform of Harmony Station, a new insignia had been unveiled. A stylized representation of diverse star systems, interconnected by pathways of light, surrounded by the words, "Progress through Unity." As Jack joined the gathered representatives, he couldn't help but feel that humanity had finally found its place among the stars. Not as supplicants seeking admission to an exclusive club, but as equal partners in a grand cooperative venture. The galaxy would never be the same again, and that Jack decided was precisely the point.